3 seconds. That's roughly how long you've been visible before a screening officer has already formed a quiet first impression of you. And according to former officers who've talked publicly about the job over the years, it's almost never the things travelers worry about. Not your haircut, not your age, not whether your shoes are fashionable. What they tend to notice first is something most people never think about. And once you understand it, the whole checkpoint experience starts to make sense. Why some travelers seem to float through, while others get stopped every single time. I spent a long while reading what retired officers, security researchers, and frequent flyers have said openly about how screening actually works, and I'm going to share the picture that emerges. A small promise before we start. Nothing here is secret. Nothing here helps anyone do anything wrong, and none of it is official policy from me to you. Procedures vary by airport and they change, so always go by what the officers in front of you say on the day. This is simply about becoming the easiest, most prepared traveler in the line. Because here's the comforting truth, hiding inside all of it. The system is largely built to notice stress and confusion, and both of those are completely fixable. Start with the first thing, the 3-second thing. By most public accounts, what gets noticed before anything else is how a person moves, not what they're wearing, how they carry themselves. Officers stand in the same spot for hours watching hundreds of people flow past, and after enough hours, normal becomes a rhythm they can feel. Most travelers walk up at a certain pace, glance at the signs, fumble a little with their ID, shuffle forward. That's the baseline. What reportedly draws the eye is whatever breaks the rhythm. Someone moving much faster than everyone else. Someone frozen still while the line moves. Someone repeatedly drifting out of line and back. None of those things are wrong, mind you. And this is the part I want to be gentle about. Being noticed is not being accused. A second glance from an officer usually ends in nothing at all. But if your goal is a smooth trip, the takeaway is lovely. In its simplicity, give yourself enough time that you can move like a person who has enough time. Almost everything that looks unusual at a checkpoint is really just hurry wearing a costume. Now, there's a piece of this that surprises nearly everyone, so let's get to it early. For years, the agency has openly acknowledged using behavior observation. Officers trained to watch for clusters of stress indicators in how people act, not how they look. The program has been controversial, debated in front of lawmakers, criticized by researchers who question whether anyone can reliably read deception in a face. Whatever you make of that debate, the public record tells us what kinds of things were on the list, and they're remarkably ordinary. Heavy sweating. That doesn't match the temperature, avoiding eye contact in an exaggerated way, or its opposite. Staring fixedly at officers and tracking their movements. Patting pockets again and again. Clutching a bag unusually tightly. Here's why I find this reassuring rather than creepy. Every one of those behaviors is the body language of ordinary anxiety. And the officers know that, which is why a single sign reportedly means very little. It's clusters and context that matter. A nervous flyer wiping their palms is the most normal sight in an airport. So if you're someone whose heart races in security lines, please hear this. You are not suspicious. You are common. Breathe. Have your ID ready. Let your hands be busy with something useful instead of fidgeting. And there's an even easier signal you can send, one that reportedly matters more than your face ever will. And it's sitting in your hands right now. Your documents. Several former officers have said in interviews and articles that the fumble is one of the most telling little moments at the document desk, not because fumbling is suspicious by itself, but because the prepared traveler stands out the other way. The person who walks up with ID in hand, who knows whether this airport wants the boarding pass scanned or not, who makes a half second of pleasant eye contact and answers a simple question simply. That person reads as someone with nothing on their mind, because that's exactly what they are. There's a small detail worth knowing here. At the document station, many airports now use machines that read your ID directly, and the officer may watch you while the machine works. A calm pause is all that moment asks of you. If they ask where you're flying today, just answer. It's a normal question. Asked, of thousands of people daily, and a relaxed answer is the whole test. Travelers who get chatty and over-explain, who volunteer their whole itinerary and the reason for the trip and their cousin's address, reportedly stand out more than the ones who simply say the city and smile. Funny, isn't it? The instinct to prove you're harmless is the very thing that reads as effortful. You don't need to perform innocence. You already have it. Then your bag goes on the belt, and a completely different kind of noticing begins. And this one has nothing to do with you as a person. The X-ray operator sees your life as shapes and colors. On many machines, different materials show up differently. Dense things one, weigh organic materials another. And what stops the belt isn't anything sinister in most cases. It's clutter. A bag packed like a junk drawer, where cords wrap around a hairbrush, which lies across a tablet, which sits on a glasses case, produces an image that's simply hard to read. And an image that's hard to read gets resolved the slow way. The bag comes off, the table, the gloves, the unpacking. Former screeners have been refreshingly blunt about this in public comments. The messy bag is the everyday villain of the checkpoint, which hands you an almost unfair advantage, because tidy is a choice anyone can make. Pack in layers. Electronics where they can come out fast. Cords coiled in one pouch instead of snaked through everything. Liquids bagged and reachable, not buried under sweaters. When the machine can read your bag at a glance, you have effectively made yourself invisible in the best possible way. There's one specific packing habit, though, that reportedly draws a second look more than nearly anything else, and I want to flag it because kind, organized people do it constantly. It's the deeply buried dense item. The jar of jam wedged in a shoe at the bottom of the suitcase. The souvenir paperweight wrapped in 3 sweaters for protection. The roll of coins. Wrapping and burying makes perfect sense from a packing standpoint, and it's precisely what makes an object unreadable on a screen. Operators reportedly flag dense, opaque shapes they can't identify, and the more lovingly you've swaddled the thing, the longer the unwrapping takes at the table. If you're carrying anything heavy, dense, or unusual, and gifts are the classic example, keep it accessible and be ready to say what it is. A cheerful, immediate answer to the question of what's in the bag tends to end the matter quickly. Hesitation, or that little theatrical pause of trying to remember your own luggage, stretches everything out. Know your bag. It sounds almost too obvious to say out loud, yet plenty of people genuinely can't list what's in their carry-on, especially if someone else helped pack it. Pack your own bag, know its contents, and the scariest question at the checkpoint becomes small talk. Something else reportedly gets clocked early, and it's worth saying plainly, because it touches so many travelers over 60. The layers. Bulky outerwear, big loose sweatshirts, lots of draped clothing. These can read as ambiguous to both machines and people, and at many checkpoints the IDOWUX body scanner will flag areas it can't resolve, which can lead to a targeted pat-down of just that spot. Baggy clothing is not a problem in any official sense, and comfort matters on a long flight. Nobody's arguing otherwise. But there's a practical sweet spot. Clothes comfortable enough for the plane, fitted enough that the scanner isn't guessing. Empty pockets entirely. Even a tissue can trigger a follow-up at some scanners. And if you have a medical device, an implant, a brace, anything that might show up, the travelers who reportedly have the easiest time are the ones who mention it before screening rather than after the alarm. Officers see implants and devices all day, every day. There are also programs at many airports for travelers who need accommodations, and notification cards some people carry that quietly explain a condition without a public conversation. Worth looking into through official channels if that's you, and worth asking your doctor what's sensible for your situation. Meanwhile, there's one moment in the whole process where more attention gets paid than almost any other, and most travelers don't even know it's happening. It's the divestment moment, the bins. Several people who've worked checkpoints have described it the same way. How someone handles the unpacking ritual says a lot, not in a gotcha sense, in a readiness sense. The traveler who arrives at the table already holding their laptop, coat off, pockets empty, moves through like water. The traveler surprised by every single instruction. Surprised shoes come off. Surprised the belt has to go. Surprised the water bottle in the mesh pocket counts. Generates exactly the kind of friction that slows lanes and draws eyes. Here's a quiet insider-flavored tip that frequent flyers swear by. While you're still 10 people back in line, watch the people at the front. Whatever the officers are asking of them is what they'll ask of you, because instructions genuinely vary. Some lanes want electronics out, some don't. Some airports are testing newer scanners where more can stay in the bag, where available. The line itself is a free preview. Use it, prep, while you wait, and you'll arrive at the belt as the easiest customer of the hour. And being easy, it turns out, is the entire secret. But there's one more layer to this that explains why the same travelers keep getting pulled aside trip after trip, and it isn't bad luck. Some of it is simply randomness. Many systems include genuinely random selection, and no amount of preparation prevents that, so extra screening now and then means nothing about you. But some of it is the compounding effect of small frictions. The traveler who's rushed tends to be flustered. Flustered leads to fumbled documents. Fumbling leads to forgotten pocket items. The alarm leads to a pat-down. The stress of the pat-down leads to a snippy tone. And a snippy tone, while never officially a screening factor, makes every human interaction at that table slower and more careful. None of these people are doing anything wrong. They're caught in a stress spiral that started in the parking garage. Reverse the spiral and everything reverses with it. Early arrival creates calm. Calm creates smooth documents. Smooth documents create an uneventful scan. And uneventful is the most beautiful word in air travel. One more honest note on tone, because it matters. Officers reportedly notice hostility quickly, and while you have every right to ask questions, and you can always request a supervisor or a private screening, if something feels off, in many cases, the difference between an irritated demand and a polite question is the difference between a long afternoon and a short one. Courtesy is not surrender, it's strategy. Let me also lift one small weight off your shoulders, because nervous flyers carry it needlessly. Being scared of flying does not make you a flagged person. Sweaty palms, a tight jaw, a racing pulse. Checkpoint officers reportedly see the full catalog of flight anxiety every shift and have learned to tell the difference between fear of the plane and anything worth their attention. The behavior observation approach, whatever its merits, has always claimed to look for combinations and context, not a single nervous tick. If anxiety is part of your travel life, the preparations in this video are doubly yours, because every uncertainty you remove the night before is a worry your body doesn't have to process at the airport. Lay out your travel outfit with empty pockets. Stage your liquids bag by the door. Put your ID in the same jacket pocket every single trip so your hand knows where it lives. Ritual is the antidote to checkpoint stress, and your nervous system will thank you at 30,000 feet. So pull it all together, and the picture is almost funny in its simplicity. What reportedly gets noticed first is rhythm, whether you move like everyone else or like someone wrestling with the moment. What gets noticed next is readiness. Documents in hand, a plain answer to a plain question, no over-explaining. What the machines notice is clarity, a tidy bag they can read, nothing dense, and mummified at the bottom, pockets truly empty, clothing the scanner doesn't have to guess about. And what the humans notice throughout is friction, surprise, scrambling, irritation, or its glorious absence. Every single one of those is within your control before you ever leave the house. The checkpoint isn't a judgment of your character. It's a system that rewards the prepared, and preparation is free. Maybe that's the thought to carry with you. You don't need luck at security. You need 15 extra minutes and a bag you packed yourself, and suddenly you're the traveler the line barely remembers. Through, shoes on, coffee in hand, trip already underway while someone behind you is still hunting for their boarding pass. If a traveler you love gets anxious in those lines, share this with them. Sometimes just knowing what's being noticed is enough to quiet the worry. And once you're through that checkpoint, cool and collected, the real question becomes what's waiting in your carry-on? Because there's a short list of everyday items that stop more security belts than everything else combined. And a couple of them are probably in your bag right now. That story's next, and it pairs with this one perfectly.